Mike Owens here, and today I'm joined with my Mancunian brother from just down the M6, Brendan Loughnane, who's back in action at PFL London. His homecoming, if you like, in this PFL portion of his career. Brendan, great to sit down and chat, my friend. How are things with you today?
Always a pleasure, mate, and it's about time they come over here, isn't it?
Well, we talked about this when we jumped on a live a couple of months ago, but I want to go a little bit deeper. I'll ask you plainly, why are the PFL doing these two shows in Cardiff and London in the next couple of weeks?
Why do you think, mate? Come on, like they've felt the buzz. You know, a lot of it's, I've got to give Paddy his dues as well. He's like really erupted UK MMA. You got Leon Edwards, and there seems to be a certain buzz over here at the minute, and it's good that PFL have latched onto that, and they're going to do their own thing over here now. So it's just a great time to be a UK MMA fighter, and we're flying at the minute.
Well, that is one of the questions I wanted to ask, because it's a big weekend, isn't it, for UK MMA, with yourself, with Leon over in Salt Lake City, and obviously MVP versus Mike Perry.
Joshua.
And Joshua, yeah. How big of a statement is it if you, Leon, and MVP get the win for British MMA?
Oh, mate, especially Leon. Leon deserves it, man. He's been around the mill. And I genuinely, I can look you in the eye and tell you, I really do think he's going to win this fight. I really do. I genuinely believe that. And I think once the UK gets its second and third champion, then that's what it really needs. And then hopefully we start getting the media we deserve on this side of the pond.
I was speaking to Luke Thomas about Leon's fight a couple of weeks ago, the journalist in the States, and I basically asked him that in Leon's 11 UFC fights, he's had 3 finishes. So if he's going to win, he's probably going to win by on points. So in your opinion, how does Leon beat Usman? Like, I know you've focused on your fight, but if you were game planning for Leon, how do you think he can get it done against the pound for pound number 1?
Points, mate. Outpointing him, staying sharp on the outside, picking him, teeps to the gut, good boxing, solid boxing, moving around the outside and keeping Usman off him, which is not easy, mate, but there's anyone that can do it, and it's Leon Edwards.
Yeah, 100%. And you mentioned there about the PFL making this push. They've obviously announced the PFL Europe series starting next year. How much hope does that inspire that the PFL are going to invest in the European market and have perhaps more Brits in there as the tournaments progress year on year?
It's brilliant, mate. I mean, not just Europe, they've gone to Asia, Middle East, and they're really expanding. But they're a great company to work for, and I love fighting for PFL. They changed my life, and they're going to change a lot more lives. And it's a good time to be a UK MMA fighter because there's options now, good ones as well.
I can remember the first question I ever asked you was about being the only Brit in the PFL. Now, obviously, Stevie Ray's gone and done his thing last night, but how big of a win do you think it was for Stevie over Pettis getting that double win over the former lightweight champ?
Brilliant, mate, and that is a very interesting final. They're both great fighters, so I'll be very interested to see that one. Simeon Powell, Dakota, Stuart Austin. How many more have we had since me now? It's so good that everybody else is jumping on board, mate. I'm buzzing.
Uchegbu too, Rafael Uchegbu.
Yeah, loads, mate. Loads. There's loads. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's getting amazing that it's kind of, if you remember when Bellator had that kind of like English and Irish push a couple of years ago when McGregor was really in his prime. It feels a bit like PFL are doing a similar thing, doesn't it? Really capturing the British. And I think, if memory serves, Dominique Wooden was offered a contract at PFL a couple of months ago, but I don't quite know what's gone on there either.
Mate, they're just making big moves. They've got big plans, big ambitions, and they're not afraid to spend the money, mate. So that's all that matters, really, and they're really going for it. So wherever I can help them, I will, because they're a great company to fight for.
Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Can you walk me through when you were first told that these shows were going to be done in your home country, and what was your first reaction about being told about fighting in PFL London?
It was all talk for a while, and then all of a sudden it wasn't. It was they tried to get Manchester, but Manchester was booked up. So, we'll settle for London. Manchester would have been better. Don't get me wrong.
Beggars can't be choosers, eh, Bryn?
I'll definitely take a train journey over a flight anyway, put it that way. But yeah, I'm buzzing, mate, and I was over the moon, to be honest. About time they came over here to me.
How does your fight week change? Like, what is your plan for going down? I know you'll probably have more media because you are the poster boy, but How does your fight week change? When is the moment when you leave the house and kind of begin the journey?
I don't know, mate. I've not really had any logistics yet, so I'm just focused on the training. I've had a bit of a blackout, to be honest, with the media. I've just been fucking getting my nose down and training like a lunatic. And I've had a great camp, and you're going to see the best Brendan Loughnane on the 20th.
Let's talk about the opponent, Chris Wade. Now, first and foremost, I know there's a little bit of tension between you two, and I think it's kind of been there for quite a while, of what I can see. So, can you kind of walk me through where this kind of beef with Chris Wade kind of begun, and kind of what your opinions are on it?
What did I first sign with PFL 2019? I remember I was coming out the lift, and I was chatting to all the other fighters, all the other coaches, everyone was sound, and this dickhead just started looking at me like this, like give me the weirdest look. And I was like, my two coaches went, fucking hell, that was weird. So from day one of me signing, this horrible little cunt has had a weird, fucking jealous little streak in him, because I came in there with a lot of hype, was putting on good performances, making good money, getting a lot of publicity, and he just automatically thinks he deserves it all for some reason, even though he's a boring cunt. So it's like, yeah, and then he's just been hating every day since then, really. And like, oh, don't worry, mate. I've pulled Chris Wade a few times in the back. Are you okay, you mate? I'm not hard to find, me. You know, I'm right here in front of you. And he's like, oh yeah, it's all yeah. His coach was like, can he apologise? And mate, and then he runs to the camera 2 minutes later, like, where's Brendan Loughnane? And I'm like, bro, you are the weirdest guy I've ever met in my life. But like I said on that thing, he's got his wish. I've got my wish, and we're going to fight in 2 weeks. That's the brilliant thing about our sport.
What do you think? So, from what I'm hearing, is it almost maybe a bit of a contrived beef on his part to try and, try and ride a little bit of your coattails? Because you mentioned there coming in with all the hype. Do you think it's one of those situations, maybe?
Jealousy is the worst trait in a human being, mate, and he's full of it. I look at him in his eyes; he's just full of it, mate. Then he's doing all these interviews about Brendan's making this and I'm making this. It doesn't. It's not fair, and he's just a moaning little cunt. Wouldn't shake Mobley's hand when he levered him. Then he's like almost spitting on Botniak when he's on the floor. He's a dickhead, mate. This guy is a dickhead. He's not good for the sport, and I'm looking forward to fighting him. Trust me.
I want to be very careful, because I feel like I read this or I saw this in an interview, but I couldn't find the source. So correct me if I'm wrong, but was there something to do with? Did he say something about your girlfriend or something family member? Was there a comment about that too?
Oh, mate, that's a whole other story. That's what he got pulled on.
All right, okay.
This was something that happened longer. I won't go into the ins and outs of it. I can't be asked, but
all right.
He did something. He got pulled on it, mate, and ran off out the room. That's what happened, mate. He ran off fast, and his coach come back in and was giving it. He just wants to apologise to you and all that, mate. And I was like, oh, get it from me.
All right.
But it's a shame that wasn't documented, mate. There was a lot of people there. The whole of PFL staff was there. Everyone was there. Bubba Jenkins was there. Everyone was there. Everyone's seen it. But horrible, jealous piece of work. That's what he is. And he can't even be man enough to do anything to your face. He'll just go behind the internet or speak to fucking interviewers about you. But when you see him, mate, he cowers and runs away. The guy is strange. And I'm looking forward to fighting him, as you can tell.
Okay, then. Well, I'll ask you a difficult question off that little bit of a rant, getting your blood pumping. What does he do well? What are kind of his key qualities, his key attributes, in your opinion?
Walks forward and eats shots with his nose. That's it. Just takes as many shots as he can take. I've seen him get absolutely hammered and come back. So he just walks forward, cuts 30 pounds of weight, just so he's absolutely massive for the weight, and he can take loads of damage. But he doesn't do anything exceptionally, mate. He really doesn't. You know what I mean? He's just tough. But I've fought loads of tough guys.
I'll check the record. 7 losses on Wade's record, never been stopped. Now, obviously, you're going in there with the ultimate intention to try and get him out of there, of course. But when you're fighting someone who's went the distance in all of his losses, do you change your game plan? Do you maybe go, I'll expect a 15-minute fight, and maybe change the tactics going in?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. At the same time, I've got 13 stoppages on the feet, mate. He's got 2 in 30 odd fights. What does that say? He's not dangerous on the feet. He all of a sudden now thinks he's a striker, which is great. So let's hope he keeps that same energy. But you've got to give him his dues. His 7 losses are to Islam Makhachev, Rustam Habilov, fucking killers, mate. So I'm not taking any of them losses away. But yeah, he's a hard nosed. You know, he comes forward. He's tough. He can wrestle, and I've definitely not took it easy, mate. I've trained my ass off.
With the exception of Schulte, he's only ever lost to Russians. Now, I've seen a few interviews where you've talked about bringing in Iranian wrestlers. So, is that maybe a part of the tactic to maybe use some of the old Russian tactics that Makhachev and Movlid have used, or is it going to be a Brendan Loughnane style fight in your eyes?
Nah, I don't fight like any of them guys. I really don't. I can't just adopt a Russian style overnight. Yeah, I mean, his 7 losses, a lot of them are splits, and stuff. Give Makhachev a good outing. We're talking about an experienced seasoned fighter here, mate. We're not talking about a pushover. It's going to be an hard fight, but that's what I've worked hard for.
What do you anticipate the reaction being in the copper box in 2 weeks' time for your homecoming? What do you expect it to be like for you?
Insane, mate. There's about 5 coach loads of 72 manx going down, all on the booze all day. You can imagine what it's going to be like, aren't you, lad?
I better be quiet. 72 or 360 manx going down. I better keep me the voice down.
Come on, lad. We're all in the same boat here. This is England against the world.
Yes, it is 100%. But the main event, very quickly, because I saw you got some training in with Kayla Harrison, I think, before your last fights. What was it like? What was it like getting a little bit of working with the 2-time Olympic gold medalist, 2-time PFL champ?
Cool as fuck. I like Kayla. She's a great person. Every time I see her, it's nothing but love. And it was great to finally get a little. We always fuck around with each other when we see each other. I'm like, hey, don't worry, I want to learn some of that judo. And she's like, well, I want to learn some of that striking. And then when she got to the UK, it was like, fuck it, we're both free. Let's just go down the gym and share some ideas. And we did. It was great.
Yeah. What are you surprised you're not main event, or do you kind of expect, given you're on the same card as Kayla, who is one of the faces of the PFL at the moment, to be coming?
Yeah, that, mate. I'd rather be first fight of the night. I really do. I enjoy getting in and out of there. I don't like sitting about all day waiting.
That's what I wanted to ask you, because one of my key points I wanted to mention is you talked about in your last before, when we last talked before the Husyk fight, about, there's a pressure on my shoulders here to get through, otherwise these cards mightn't happen in the UK. Was that explicitly said that there was a backup plan if you were in these playoffs?
No. London was going to go ahead regardless, but it wouldn't have had the same effect in the UK, would it? Let's have it right. So there was a hell of a lot of pressure, mate. And I think it affected my performance. It affected me mentally. It did. I was doing a lot of interviews. I was fucking flat out. I had other issues going into it. But all that aside, now I can actually genuinely sit here now and say I have a great camp in a great place. I've got all my coaches and my family, got my dog with me. You know what I mean? Life's good, mate.
Is that one of the things you miss? Because you've always talked about, and virtually every fighter, I think I saw Open Mercier talking about how difficult the season is. Was it made even more difficult when you weren't at home, when you never had your family and your friends and your dog around you? How much do you think that impacted things for you?
Mike, I can't tell you, mate, what it was like to get told once you enter the United States, you're not allowed to leave for the duration of the tournament. We're talking 6 months. But at this point, I'd already done 6 months away anyway. I training because they was in lockdown. So that's 12 months away from your family. And it was like, fucking hell. And, I was renting a room off someone in Vegas. Great guy, Lance. Love him to death now. He helped me loads. I was renting a room with him. I was going through injuries. I was going through staph infections. I broke my hand in the Tyler Diamond fight. And I was fighting an undefeated Dagestani, mate. And I was on my own, essentially. So for me now, being healthy, being happy, being around my people, going down the road for a fight, it's everything that I'm used to. And it's all in my favour this time.
Yeah, 100%. It's just amazing to see, mate. It really is. But I've got to finish with this question because I've asked you this a couple of times and I'm interested to see. We know the PFL format is twofold. You win $1 million and you win the world title at the end. What percentage are we on now going into the semis? What percentage are you wants to win which?
50-50, mate.
50-50. You said 80-20 to me at the start of the year. So why has it gone more towards the world title?
Because I'm that close now.
Yeah.
Like, I've been having some deep conversations with some of my coaches, and to be honest, I am set for life. Like, I'm set for life in a way that, like, before I started PFL, I didn't have much. Now I've had, 7-8 fights in there, made good money for all them fights, and made some good money in sponsors. So I am set now. So now it is the belt. Do you know what I mean? And but it's still. Listen, when I say set, I mean I don't have to fucking get a 9 to 5 for the next 5 years. Do you know what I mean? But I'm not set as in like generational, my kids' and that's the next goal. But the belt, mate, is right there in front of me. I've got a couple on the mantelpiece here, but not quite a world one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Can you anticipate what it will feel like when you lift that world title? Like you mentioned there, you've got some on the mantelpiece, but do you have any idea what it's going to feel like?
Nah, but I'm sure I'll explode in emotion, mate.
Yeah.
And like I say, got this cocky little yank in front of me for the first one, and then a Bubba or Kudo. I'm very comfortable with them 2 fights as well. So whoever gets it done there, I'll be looking forward to it.
Who'd you fancy to be meeting you in the final? Jenkins or Kudo?
I'm going back and forth every day on this, mate. Like, I think to myself, nah, but I wrestled him, so Bubba will just wrestle him. But then I remember that I actually hurt him a few times with the back kicks and the right hands in order to wrestle him. Whereas I don't think he's going to respect Bubba striking. And he's fucking fast, mate. So it's like, Bubba don't get hold of him, mate. Which I think he will for 1 or 2 rounds, but all comes down to the third, maybe. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. Well, never mind their fight, because it's the Brendan Loughnane show in 2 weeks' time. And Brent, it's great to chat. It's always great to catch up. And on a personal note, I cannot wait to see you fight live. Not on a screen. I can't wait to see you fight live in less than 2 weeks' time, my friend.
Oh, man, let's do it, Mikey. Yeah. Good lad.
Yeah. Before we finish, mate, how can people find you on social media and sponsors you'd like to plug? The floor is yours.
Yeah, mate. Bontriac, Screen Live, Prevail, all been great to me all the way through. And I just want to thank all my coaches, my family and friends that have been there for me. 14 days to go. This time, 2 weeks, we'll be getting ready for the fight of my life, and I'm excited for it.
Make sure to subscribe to the LowKickMMA YouTube channel for all the latest news, event previews, and interviews with some of the biggest stars in MMA.